You know, it is said over and over again. I know we get tired of hearing it and saying it, but the media in this country is so corrupt, so thoroughly and completely corrupt. I watch these really quite stupid people, the Chuck Todds, the Dana Bashes, the George Stephanopoulos. These aren't even average people. They're way below average people in every respect. They're Democrat political hacks dressed up as journalists, and they prove it every day. Martha Raddatz. What's the one on Margaret Brennan? How did you know? Margaret Brennan. That's right. So we have this case today. Hunter Biden's found guilty in 3 hours. He's in a favorable state, a favorable city, a jury picked from that community, and he's found guilty in 3 hours. Completely different than the Donald Trump situation. And the same corrupt Democrat prosecutors who tried to cut a sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, did their best, but a federal judge wouldn't have anything to do with it. Well, look what happened. And not only that, a Department of Justice and an Internal Revenue Service that besmirched, threatened, ruined the careers of 2 IRS whistleblowers. 51 phony former spooks, that is, intel agents and federal law enforcement agents, signing a letter. The mother of all evidence against the Bidens, the laptop, just in time to influence the election. This whole thing was corrupt from beginning to end. And as I've said, and I want to congratulate the legal analyst backbenchers who've now picked up on it, yes, Joe Biden will pardon his son after the election. Period. Those of you who listen to this program on a regular basis, you know we've been saying this. And so all this took place, and let us not forget some of the toughest aspects of Hunter Biden's criminality. While they allowed the statute of limitations to run, did this prosecutor, involving FARA, the Foreign Agents Reporting Act. And one of the more important tax aspects, the statute of limitations ran as well. He let them run. Now, since we have the benefit of Alvin Bragg and acting state judge Bidenite Mershon, there's a way to fix that, as I understand it. But that for another day. That for another day. Hunter Biden won't see a minute in prison, because Daddy will pardon him the minute after the election. I'm telling you now. And again, the backbenchers have finally figured it out. Anyway, so we have to listen to this media. Chuck Todd. I thought they got rid of Chuck Todd, Mr. Producer. I thought they sent him to, like, Alcatraz or something. Oh, just to meet the depressed. Then they keep bringing this weasel on Andrew Weissman. This puke, this punk, this reprobate, who's ruined so many lives and so many careers. Then they bring in Terry Moron, a.k.a. Terry Moran, ABC News. Senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott, ABC News. Then they roll in the big one, Claire McCaskill on MSLSD. And then there's Biden, while this is all happening, speaking at some major gun control operation, every town for gun safety, going on and on about how we need more gun laws. And I want to correct something here. People are confusing the Second Amendment with libertarian ideology. Look, we gun owners have been saying over and over and over again, in the face of those who seek to take our weapons away, you're coming after people who are honest, people who purchase their weapons legally, people who use their weapons legally. You're trying to punish us for those who violate federal gun laws. You're not permitted to purchase a weapon if you're a drug addict. If you're a drug addict. And so people say, well, that violates the Second Amendment. Well, you want to know the truth? When the Second Amendment was adopted, it didn't apply to the states. That's correct. The Bill of Rights only applied to the federal government. Only to the federal government. And later on, the court came up with a doctrine, the incorporation doctrine, and included it and some of the other aspects of the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendments, and so forth, to the states. The court did that. Except for the 14th Amendment, which took the Fifth Amendment effectively and applied it to the states, we needed a constitutional amendment. So if you're a quote-unquote a libertarian and you want to be a purist on this issue, states can do whatever the hell they want. But we're glad they can't, aren't we? Yes, we are. We're glad they cannot. Because they'll come after those who are law-abiding gun owners. That's what they'll do. So that's the history. That's the truth. Now, having said that, I'm a gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that amendment should be maximized, but I also believe that if you're a drug dealer or a drug addict, I have no problem with the requirement that you can't purchase a gun. Now, maybe at some point, if you're a drug addict and you've cleaned yourself up, that's okay. But in 2018, when Hunter Biden walked into that gun shop, he was a drug addict. In fact, they found cocaine on his pistol later. When his deceased brother's wife and his girlfriend he was having an affair with threw it away in a trash can, and when it was found, it had cocaine on it. I mean, it was a simple open and shut case. Simple open and shut case. But to hear the media go on and on like this is some terrible thing that he was charged, or even more, Joe Biden, he acts like every father acts. No, he doesn't. Or they use it as an opportunity to attack Trump. You see, there's Trump trashing the legal system. But in the meantime, here's Joe Biden accepting it. What? Joe Biden, if you were a regular person, would be facing Espionage Act charges, the worst kind. Still can, depending on how the court rules on immunity. He was almost gleeful when he decided to speak about the Trump case in New York. The system worked. The system worked. The system was a setup in New York. And the feds, the intelligence agencies, the FBI, the Department of Justice, they all tried to cover for Hunter. All of them. It was a judge who put her foot down. A real judge. A federal judge in Wilmington who said, wait a minute, what kind of deal is this? And Hunter Biden and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, were so arrogant, so cocky, used to skating on everything, that they turned down any possibility of a deal even after that. Now he was convicted. What they did for Hunter Biden would never be done for an American citizen. Let statutes of limitations run. Have a sweetheart deal. Delay a case for years. Even had a trial in Wilmington, Delaware, with an honest jury. We didn't see that in Manhattan. We didn't have an honest jury, quite frankly. Well, don't blame the jurors. I blame them all. They compare that to what Donald Trump had to deal with while he's running for president, a former president. There's no comparison. But here's Chuck Todd on MSNBC today. They dusted off the little bastard. So despised is he even by liberals that he lost his Meet the Depressed host gig, and they handed it to another idiot. Cut 3, go.
So I do think we should step back and realize that our system is different. There is a fairness to it where we really do aspire that nobody is above the law. I think it's possible that there is a contrast here that the public may see between how Trump and his partisans handle the rule of law versus how Biden and his partisans handle the rule of law.
See what I mean? You have a Stalinist trial in Manhattan. You have a real trial with a real judge, finally, in Wilmington, despite the best efforts of the Biden regime to prevent it. And here you have Chuck Todd, a propagandist for the Democrat Party and the left. Chuck Todd, whose wife, like Mershon's wife, is a Democrat Party activist who makes a fortune advising Democrats. Here he is telling us that the Trump and his partisans don't accept the rule of law, but the Bidens do. A moral equivalency. This is why when it comes to Israel and Hamas, a moral equivalency. As a matter of fact, it's not even anymore a moral equivalency. Israel is the terrorist regime. Hamas is the victim. That's what we have now. That's where we are. Go.
And I'll be honest, I personally am this is one of those cases where I don't think it's brought if Biden's not president of the United States.
See what I mean? Go ahead.
Things if Biden had chosen not to run in 2018, I doubt Hunter Biden's ever prosecuted for something like this. In some ways, we may look back on this and say he was held more accountable because of who he is, not less accountable because of who he is.
See that, America? The guy hasn't paid his taxes. The guy didn't follow federal law when it comes to representing foreign entities and foreign governments. The guy clearly, illegally, affirmatively acquired a weapon which had cocaine on it. And Hunter Biden is a victim now. You see, nobody would have dealt with Hunter Biden but for the fact he's a Biden, but for the fact his father chose to run for president. Other than that, Hunter Biden would be in the clear. Now, they never say that about Donald Trump, and it happens to be true with Donald Trump. They come up with these cockamamie arguments. They invent these fictions. But Hunter Biden is a clear-cut case. You had two IRS whistleblowers. I don't think either of them voted for Trump. It destroyed their careers. And this is what you get from Chuck Todd and MSNBC today. This is why Chuck Todd is despised even by liberals who would not give him the audience he needed at Meet the Press.